Okay, let's take a look at a letter for OET. So, just get my stuff out. So this is a Bethany Taylor one, and you might have seen it on the internet. And go to the task. So, you're a doctor in the psych ward. You're discharging the patient back to her GP. Okay, pretty straightforward stuff. So if we consider this, right, so the GP knows all this, but what he doesn't know is this. Now this is interesting because it's the night before. Okay, so the GP knows all this stuff because he's a GP, so he should kind of know this, but what he doesn't know is that she did some coke the night before she's self-admitted. So that's probably the reason why she had the schizophrenia. And we've got the background. She's not been taking the meds. She's got hallucinations. We don't have to go into the details of these. Don't have to go into that. Self-harm, ideations, etc. So all this is. So this is the background, but it says admitted. So this is why I keep saying don't use random notes off the internet, because this is not the background really, is it? This is when she was admitted. So it says here admitted for auditory command, hallucinations, visual hallucinations, delusion, etc. Then you've got a second one here. So anyway, we can ignore this, right? So we can just say that when she was admitted, right, she had a bunch of symptoms, hallucinations, auditory and visual, delusions, agitated, blah, 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 okay? And then what happened during the time in hospital? So she's been in for 9 days, seems to be okay. Okay, the nursing management focused on this, assessment and discharge plan, etc. Okay, so that's relatively straightforward. As again, as I keep saying to people, if you're watching on YouTube, don't use random notes. Use the OET ones, because we can see here there's some contradiction, whereas the OET ones are usually, well, always logical and well laid out. Now, I was searching for my files because I couldn't be bothered to write one, and I found a sample in my archives. It's not too bad, not too bad. More or less tells us what we need to know, so I shall use this as a model. So you've got the usual dear doctor blah blah blah. Okay, what's the purpose? Your patient, Miss Taylor, self-admitted decompensated due to substance abuse, because the case note showed that she did coke the night before. She's now ready for discharge, blah 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 blah. Now, I'm the doctor, I'm the GP, so what I don't know is what happened in the hospital. Let me just get out my pen. So like I say, that's the purpose. That's good. Okay, so I don't know as the, will this scroll down? Oh dear, no. Okay, well, I won't use that function then. That's not particularly good. Or maybe, no. I can use it if I get it all on the same page. Hang on. Just one of these tools. Okay, so I can use it. So that's the purpose there. All right, that's pretty good. So I'm a GP. What I don't know is what happened when she was admitted. Yeah. Admissions, thought disorder, thought blocking, latency, delusions. I would have maybe mentioned the self-harm thing, but okay. That's what happened when she was admitted. What happened during her stay? Well, she was back on the meds. Did it say anything about non-compliance? Doesn't mention that. Okay. So she was placed back on her meds. That would imply that she was non-compliant before. Medical condition is stabilized. Insight's good. Nursing management, she's not reported. So anyway, so that's pretty good, right? That's all the in-hospital stuff. Okay, that's good. Now, what's going to happen now when she gets out? So she's on risperidone, administered, with a discharge, follow-up. Okay, that's pretty good, all right? Pretty clear. Okay, so we've got a nice logical progression. Got the purpose, what happened on admission, what happened when she was in hospital, and what's the plan for when she gets out. Now, I'll check a word count for this. This might be a bit short. It is. It's a little bit short. But again, I was just having a search through my archives and I found one, and this was the one that was more applicable, or probably the best one out of all those that my students have sent me. So anyway, I hope that gives you some idea of the structure. Okay, now we have a letter here. Now there's quite a few things here. Let's take a look at it. So we've got so let's take a look. Discharging Miss Taylor, 18-day hospital psych ward, inform you about her condition. You don't need that. You can just use preposition. So it's your patient. So you could say, I'm discharging your patient, just so it's clear that's who it is. I'm discharging your patient. She's been inside 18 days. Okay, presented. Well, she did present, but you could say self-admitted. Because usually we use presentation when you go to a doctor. When you go to the doctor and say, oh, doctor, blah, blah, blah. But you usually admitted into hospital, yeah? With a diagnosis of article and preposition, decompetent schizophrenia, and aggression, as well as if these are all the symptoms, visual, audio, hallucinations, and delusions. So we've got all the symptoms there in a sentence. Okay, Miss Taylor, self-admitted, diagnosis, agitation, blah, 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 blah. Considering that patient was non-compliant, so you use non-compliant with with her medications. Now, make this passive. Risperidone was administered, and which has been. So why are we using present perfect passive? Was administered, which was effective. So was it effective, or which has been effective to her mental health? What? So is this to her mental health in the past? But if I'm the GP, then I probably know that risperidone was working with her before. You see, hence the confusion. This is what I keep saying. Don't use dodgy notes from the internet, because I don't know. So it's not clear to me if she was on risperidone before, because it says here non-compliant. But what were the medications that she was on? Because we've got something here for hyperthyroidism, but that's not the same thing. So I don't know what the meds were. So she was commenced on risperidone when she came in, but I don't know if she was taking those before or what her previous kind of meds were. So again, you can see why I'm not happy about using these random case notes. Where are we? Okay. So, which has been effective, or which were effective, if we're talking about the ones that she's been using now, which were effective to her mental health, or which were effective. Okay. Additionally, there was also observed some, right, so make this right. How you do the passive, you put the object first. So additionally, some improvement in her, unless he's a trans, which I don't think so, unless There was some improvement in her cognitive function was observed. So this is how we do passive. Put it there. Okay. Additionally, some improvement in her cognitive function was observed, which indicates the possibility of the patient returning to her normal life. Okay, however, during the assessment, so there's no however, because that's a contrast, saying something is this, however, it's also that, but there's no contrast here. So during the nursing assessment, there was apparent progress of his mental health. Now, however, you can put it here. However, this potentially. So, however should be at the beginning of this clause. So, during this assessment was an apparent progress of her mental disease. However, this potentially can deteriorate irreversibly. Miss Taylor is not compliant with her medicaments, medication. Hence, we don't use this anymore. OET says it's too old-fashioned. You could use subsequently, or simply. So he was prescribed continuously taking. Right. He was prescribed. So this use of passive. Hence, risperidone was prescribed. So hence, risperidone was prescribed every night for the next month, with the possibility of taking a milligram in case of agitation, or how do you spell psychosis? Is that PSY? If I spell, how do you spell? Is that right? Right, psychosis with followed by signals. Probably hospital. Please don't hesitate to contact me if you need any additional information on the patient. Okay. So, quite a few things to have a look at, as you can see. Prepositions, articles, misgendering the patient. Is it a he? Is it a she? Who is it? Prepositions, articles, pronouns, passive, verb forms, has been, were, etc. So I'll leave this here, and this is for the author. I won't tell you who it is, but they know who. So hope that gives you some ideas about how that. So these are things that this particular letter needs to change, and this is a reasonable example, a bit more logical. Okay, this is a more reasonable example. I'll leave that there, and then you've got these interesting case notes that we found on the internet. So I hope that gives you some ideas. Okay, and I'll see you next time.